Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm going to show off my Nintendo Wii collection today and talk about some of my favorite games. And also just talk about the Nintendo Wii itself. Seems like the people today that consider themselves the real gamers can't stand the platform, don't like it. It's kind of a trendy thing, a gimmicky thing that's in the past, but I'm here to tell you in 2023 there's still some pretty cool games that you can play. And I'm going to show off my collection today, so stay tuned. So you basically see the collection here. So I'm just going to go through it one by one. The cool thing about the Wii, in my opinion, the first thing is it's backwards compatible with the GameCube. And it's, in my opinion, rare. It also has 4 controller ports and memory card ports, all for the GameCube. I mean, it is basically an upgraded GameCube, which is really cool. So I just have a handful of GameCube games, and I'll just start there. F-Zero GX. Try to get these to focus. F-Zero GX. And every game I'm going to show you today is 100% complete with the manual. Soul Calibur 2 for the GameCube, the one that has Link. Metroid Prime. Extreme G3 Racing. Star Wars Rogue Squadron 2. And Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. Star Fox Assault. And Star Fox Adventures. Luigi's Mansion. And Star Wars Bounty Hunter. Zelda Wind Waker. And the Sonic Gems collection. This has Sonic CD, Sonic R, both from the Sega CD, and also Sonic the Fighters, an arcade game. There's one more game to show you, but let me just talk about the GameCube real quick. During the GameCube era, I was out of video games. I just wasn't playing them, wasn't collecting them, wasn't buying them. At the time, had sold the video games I had, totally gotten out of it. So I don't have really any nostalgia for the GameCube. It's just in retrospective, I've went back and bought a few, including this last one, Paper Mario and the Thousand Year Door. Got this for, I think, $35, and now this game's worth close to $100, which should also tell you why my GameCube collection is so small, because the prices are just through the roof, and the time to collect for GameCube is pretty much over, in my opinion. Okay, on to the actual Wii. All right, start out here with Link's Crossbow Training. Now this is important because something about the Wii that's still fun today in 2023 is the games where you use the light gun. Of course, the Wii remote is a light gun. And I'm going to show off a few different games throughout this that are really fun to play on your modern TV. And even though this is a very simple, cheap game, this is pretty fun. Show off my special editions here. So let me just tell you, the Wii was not about special editions. There's only a handful of special editions. It just wasn't about that at the time, so it doesn't really have any. But I do have The Last Story. Now this one, along with 2 other games that I also own, was 3 games that came out in Europe and Japan but did not come out in America, and a lot of people was pretty frustrated because they were 3 cool RPGs, and eventually through much complaining and griping, Nintendo finally released them in the US, and this is one of them, The Last Story. And this is a special edition with the CD and the booklet and the game, so pretty cool. And the only other 2 special editions I have, but they're both really cool, is this Super Mario All-Stars 25th Anniversary. Now, this game is really just Super Mario All-Stars, the same that was on the Super Nintendo. I'm not going to open it up today, but it's 100% complete. It does have a Mario soundtrack and a Mario history booklet inside, but basically it's just a cool collector's piece, but basically it is the one from the Super Nintendo as far as the gameplay, but pretty cool to have. Then last is this game, which is Kirby's 20th Anniversary Collection. And this has Kirby's Dream Land on the Game Boy, Kirby's Adventure on the NES, Kirby's Dream Land 2, Kirby Superstar, Kirby's Dream Land 3, Kirby 64, the Crystal Shards. This has soundtrack, anniversary book, pretty cool compilation here. As I go through my collection here, the Wii is known for gimmicky titles and a lot of shovelware. A lot of shovelware, just real cheesy kiddie games that aren't that good. And I don't doubt that or argue that point. That is true. A big bulk of the library is games that are just not that good in our modern day. They just kind of was on a hit. It was super popular, sold over 100 million units, and they were belting games out, and some of them were definitely shovelware. But the point of this video is to show off my collection, but to tell you there's some pretty good games out there. Not every one of these games is awesome. I'd say 3/4 of these games are really cool. And there's a few that are okay, but I just felt like I wanted to collect them. And I'll tell you that I got almost all these games extremely cheap because there was a time, and I don't think it's that different now, but the Wii was just unbelievably cheap to collect for. I think it's went up a little bit, but didn't pay much for these games. Wanted to kind of just collect all the games that I thought were cool, and I pretty much did that. I pretty much got all the games that I felt like there was ever a chance I'd ever want to play them. Not every game is amazing, but there's some pretty cool ones here, and some fun to be had. Beatles Rock Band. Big fan of the Beatles. Got this game. I just have the game and some microphones. I don't have the actual set. Very interesting fighting game here. Castlevania Judgment. Pretty cool. And let me just pause. For all you really young people that watch this, it's kind of a treat now, or it's like a special edition for a game to have any kind of a manual. Look at the manual on this. And this is just par for the course. Pretty much every game you see has manuals like this. This manual is 91 pages long. This is the kind of stuff that games used to have. Well, actually, I guess this is not full color, but some of these are. But just cool artwork, just lots of cool stuff. Back in the day, you just got a lot more with, you didn't just get this little bitty card or this basic Blu-ray disc, but you got a 91-page manual. So you pick up this game versus a Switch or a PS5 game, and you notice how heavy it is because it has a manual. Anyway, interesting title here. Dragon Quest Swords. This is kind of a first-person game where you go through and you literally, like, you see your hand on the screen, kind of a virtual reality, sort of. And you basically just use your sword to do whatever to get through the level. Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, sequel to the GameCube game. Not as popular, but still fun. Marble Saga Korinpa. There's two games on the Wii that are this type of like a marble balancing board game. You basically use the remote as a balancing board and try to get through courses. Really fun. Wii is not known for first-person shooters at all. However, it does have two pretty cool games. The Conduit series. So I've got Conduit 1 and 2. Fun little game here, Wario Land Shake It. And not all these games are exclusive. Some of these games are on other platforms, like Spider-Man Dimensions, but pretty cool game. Pretty fun. Super Paper Mario. Interesting game. Kind of goes back and forth between 2D and 3D. If you like arcade racing, I got two games here. Excite Trucks and Excite Bots. Both pretty fun. Really cool Zelda game here. Zelda Twilight Princess. The game that probably made the Wii famous, Wii Sports. Played that game a lot. Had a blast playing it. And then Wii Sports Resort. Game originally that came out on the PS2, Okami. It's, I think, now come out on basically everything. But this is a cool version because you can use the Wii remote to do the painting and whatever. So, pretty cool. Well, the Wii actually had a pretty good Sonic game called Sonic Colors. Check it out. A few lesser known titles here, but Centipede Infestation. Kind of like a twin stick shooter. Just have to play it and see. It's kind of a neat little game here. Batman, the Brave and the Bold. Check it out. I have not actually played these games, but they look like pretty fun platforming games. Epic Mickey 1 and 2. Cool platformer, Rayman Origins. This is a cool shoot 'em up, kind of a twin stick shoot 'em up, kind of similar to Rocky and Pocky. Heavenly Guardian. Kind of a follow-up sequel to GoldenEye 007 on the 64, but it's on the Wii. I actually played that game all the way through, had a fun time doing it. Compared to modern day first-person shooters, I'm sure it's not that good, but I had a blast playing it. Another Kirby game, Kirby's Epic Yarn. Chocobo Dungeon, Final Fantasy. Super Smash Bros. Brawl, definitely fun. Pretty cool racing game here. Sonic Sega All-Stars Racing. Mario Kart Wii, best-selling game on the Wii. Kind of hard to go back to after Mario Kart 8, but still pretty cool. Speaking of racing games, lesser known one here, Speed Racer. Check it out. Bought this game for next to nothing. I think the cover got a little faded, but it is Rhythm Heaven Fever. This game has actually got some value to it. You can tell what the color should look like right there versus the cover. I think it got in the sun or something, but actually it's kind of a valuable game, shockingly. Battalion Wars 2. Kind of a fun little game. Little King's Story. Never played that, but a lot of people have told me it was pretty good. This is a good wasting time game. Bit Trip Complete. It's got 6 different games on there, all pretty fun. Mario Strikers Charged. Cool soccer Mario game. Kind of a point and click game. Zack and Wiki. What's it called? Quest for Barbaros Treasure. I mentioned earlier the last story was one of 3 games that we were begging to get in America. Here's another one. Xenoblade Chronicles. And this is, I believe, the original version that came out. This game has been re-released here recently on the Switch, but pretty cool to have. So the value has went down on it. At one time it was pretty high. Just some fun Mario sports games. You got Mario Tennis, Power Tennis, Mario Super Sluggers baseball game. If you ever played Nights into Dreams on the Dreamcast, here is sequel Night's Journey of Dreams on the Wii. Kind of a hidden gem, Mushroom Men, The Spore Wars. Check it out. And Rodea, the Sky Soldier. Halfway through the games, you know, by no means am I saying this library of games compares to other systems. Like the PlayStation 2 at the time, you know, has, 500 more good games on it than what this does. So I guess it's your expectations. If your expectations are high, this could be a letdown. But if your expectations are low, which I think most people are when they think of the Wii, there's a lot of fun stuff to play on the Wii. All right, cool fighting game. Guilty Gear. These names. Guilty Gear XX Accent Core, I think. But pretty interesting fighting game. Another fighting game. This one's actually really fun. Tatsunoko versus Capcom Ultimate All-Stars. This is kind of the Wii's exclusive Marvel vs. Capcom game, basically, but it's Tatsunoko versus Capcom. Really, really fun. And here's the third of that trilogy that I mentioned, Pandora's Tower, that we really wanted to get over here in America. I think it was Project Rainfall, is that right? I can't remember. Pretty interesting game. Red Steel 2 uses the motion control plus of a sword and a gun shooting. It's pretty fun. The other Zelda game on the Wii, Skyward Sword. Another Spider-Man game here, Spider-Man Web of Shadows. Interesting RPG here, Arc Rise Fantasia. Pretty cool. Nothing spectacular here, but it is fun on the Wii. Medal of Honor Heroes 2. Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn. Here's one of the more expensive games on the Wii. Once again, manual. Look at this manual. Good grief. Look at the manual. Can you see that? Look at that. This manual is, well, it says only 66 pages long, but it feels heavier than that other one. Just so cool. So, cool game there. Klonoa for the Wii. Cool platformer. Another one that's kind of up there. Resident Evil 4 Wii Edition. So a lot of people felt like this was an improvement over the GameCube version because of using the Wiimote. Now it's basically on every system, and you can play it in so many ways. This probably isn't that special anymore, but interesting way to play it. Lost in Shadow. Interesting game. Another fighting game here. Not the greatest, but it is alright. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Boom Blocks Bash Party. Kind of a cool little party game there. Wii Play. Greg Hastings Paintball 2. Metroid Other M. This game weighs a ton, you know that manual's huge. Ghostbusters video game. Check it out, it's probably funner than you think it is. Call back to an NES game. A Boy and His Blob. A couple Lego games here. It's pretty kind of a big deal. These were compilations. The complete Indiana Jones saga and the complete Star Wars saga. Today there's much bigger compilations that have probably bigger and better collections, but still cool to have. All right, within this last stack is probably my favorite game. It's not every single game is there. Like for instance, this one's not, but it's still fun. Dangerous Hunts 2013, fun to use with the gun. But just looking through here, some of my favorite games on the Wii are in this stack. And this might be my #1 favorite. It's an absolute blast. Sin and Punishment, Star Successor. And a Wii exclusive, amazing. Last I looked, it was not hard to get. It was fairly cheap. Absolute masterpiece. It is a shoot 'em up, but you use your Wiimote and your nunchuck, and it's kind of like a on-rail shooter like Star Fox. It's really cool. I had a blast playing this game. Super Mario Brothers Wii, really fun. Surprisingly funner than you probably think, NBA Jam for the Wii. I love the old Super Nintendo NBA Jam games and the original arcade. Two of the best games on the system. One of the main reasons I wanted a Wii in the first place. Mario Galaxy. Oh, got a terrible glare. Mario Galaxy 1 and 2. 2 is objectively better, but 1 is really good too. So, fantastic games. Worth getting a Wii just to play the Mario games. Metroid Prime 3, Corruption. Masterpiece. Really fun game. Muramasa the Demon Blade. If you think the Wii's graphics and all that stuff, it just looks terrible, play this game and you'll see the Wii could put out some really cool stuff. This used to be an exclusive. It might be on the Vita or something too now. Really cool callback to an NES game, Punch Out. This is a really fun game too. And the last Kirby game, Kirby's Return to Dreamland. And this is a really fun one too. Sequel to the Super Nintendo games, Donkey Kong Country Returns. Fun platformer. So there's some pretty cool Neo Geo compilation games, and one of them is SNK Arcade Classics 1. This has Art of Fighting, Baseball Stars, Fatal Fury, King of Monsters, Shoot 'em Up called Last Resort, Magician Lord, Metal Slug, on and on and on. It's got some really fun games on it. Speaking of Metal Slug, the Metal Slug Anthology. This has the first 7 games. 1 through 6, and then I believe X, I think, which is a remake of 2. Also, the King of Fighters collection. Says King of Fighters 97, 98, 94 through 98. It's got 5 King of Fighters games on there. That's awesome. And one more, the Samurai Showdown anthology. I think it's got the first 6 Samurai Showdown games, I believe. Pretty cool. Now, some genres in which the Wii is not good is shoot 'em ups, which is my favorite genre, but it does have Castle of Shikigami 3, which is very fun. And the Ultimate Shooting Collection. This has Radio Allergy, Karos, and Chaos Field. Some cool Dreamcast and GameCube era shooters. And then lastly, getting back to what I said about using the Wiimote as a light gun. Some cool games here. Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles. Want to shoot some zombies with your Wiimote? How about Resident Evil, The Dark Side Chronicles? Same premise there. Or what about The House of Dead 2 and 3? And last, Ghost Squad. Another cool light gun type game. So that will end it for me today. But I think the Wii is cool. The light gun is cool. It's different. Several interesting variations and ways to play it that you can't really get on other games. Is its library as good as other ones? No. But is it much better than you probably think? Yes. And I don't know if the games are still cheap because I haven't collected Wii in a few years, but glad that I bought these when they were cheap. And I was a big fan of the Virtual Console. Huge fan of the Virtual Console back in the day. In 2023, it don't seem like such a big deal because every system has a way to go and download old classic retro games. And it's just so easy today to get whatever game you want from any era digitally. But back in the day, the Virtual Console was one of, if not the first game where you could go back and download old games, and it had Japanese games. I remember it had Castlevania Rondo of Blood that you could download on there, which was really cool. Shoot 'em ups for the Sega or the Mega Drive, like Glailancer. It just had some really cool games on there. I remember it had Neo Geo and TurboGrafx 16 and Sega Genesis and all kinds of consoles besides just Nintendo consoles. So Virtual Console was awesome, like 10 out of 10, fantastic. Backwards compatibility with the GameCube was and still is awesome. And then yeah, it's got a lot of shovelware, but there's also some really cool games out there. So I'll just end it there. If you have a Wii collection, does it look similar to mine, or is there some games that I left out? What is your favorite Wii game? Please leave it in the comments below. And hope you have a great day, and until next time, take care.